question. So then I later found out from a national coordinator that Marcus Farrell and Chris Smith both worked conjointly to hire Aisha. Now, mind you, Aisha's from North Carolina, and anybody who knows anything about political campaigns, especially at this level, is very aware that you don't hire a state director to direct the state that she is from or he is from, because they have inherent biases there, and they might have some animus that's left over from a previous campaign that they may have worked, or they may just have might have a dialectic ideological difference from the people that are in that state. So you want to go in there with a fresh face that may have some connection to the state in order to get things moving, but you don't want somebody who is deeply rooted into the foundation of the political atmosphere of that state. So the fact that Aisha was the only person hired specifically for North Carolina kind of makes us very aware that someone had ulterior motives, especially when Chris Smith gets hired very shortly before Aisha does, wakes up one morning, no longer a recruiter, ends up on the presidential campaign at one of the highest levels, and Aisha, miraculously ends up as the state director of North Carolina.
And your concern with Aisha, once again, is that she kind of sabotaged some events you were planning, and along those lines.
Yeah, well, sabotage events that we were planning, sabotage and ignored it, like very necessary endorsements for Bernie. I've gotten so much information. I found out that she opened up an office in the most liberal city of our town, where we needed and it was one of the strongest black areas as well, where we needed those votes, and the office was opened up 2 days beforehand. 2 days before the election, I should say.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In Durham, the president of the African American Caucus she lives in Durham. When it was opened, president of the African American Caucus in Durham, she lives in Durham, and she didn't know that the office had opened. Nobody ever reached out to her, and her contact information is very easy to get. Aisha has her contact information, and just never reached out.
How'd you leave off with this guy, Chris Smith?
I hung up with him, and I told him I would be happy to entertain more of his conversation if he lets me know who hired him, and he refused to let me know. And mind you, this is public information, or it's supposed to be public information. If you have nothing to hide, then I don't understand why you can't tell me who hired you. The fact of the matter is, it was a call of desperation. He was very defensive, and a lot of times he went on the offensive during the conversation. He would get really hype if I would question anything he did. He would try to pander at me. He was throwing the Hillary pitch. You sacrifice a little bit of your principles now. You rub shoulders with, people that you may not necessarily agree with, and, it pays off later. The same way that Hillary has gotten every other black member that she's bought off on her team. And unfortunately, that's not the case. I'm not sacrificing my principles and my values just to further one race when Bernie Sanders is, running, so that we don't have to do stuff like that anymore, so that we're all equal in this political field, and nobody has to pander or sacrifice their principles in order to get political ideologies and values pushed through. Because if it's not the will of the people, then why are you doing it?
Okay, so now, he calls you up. He says, hey, listen, you're damaging people's futures. You're damaging your own future. Did he come right out and offer you a job, paying gig?
No. Okay. I think, and I'll be honest with you, I think he was going to.
Right.
I can't confirm that, but he kept trying to say, oh, well, I just want to make sure we don't let this linger. So let's come up with a deal.
That's what he said?
Let's reach a resolution. Yeah, but I just kind of cut him off like, no, this is not going to die. Because the correct answer should have probably been, well, you keep doing whatever you have to do in order to make sure that this doesn't spread any further. As in, make sure that you're getting the truth about the Sanders campaign. But that's not what he said. He wanted me to kill the story without digging any deeper.
I got you. Now, okay, fine. Then let's say from his, give him the benefit of the doubt, okay? I'm Chris Smith. I currently try to call up the guy. Put out a fire. I'm trying to put out a fire. There's a personality conflict between me and Niko. My next move is I get somebody else, maybe a little higher up than me, to contact Niko and say, hey, don't give them a shot to talk to Niko. Has any of that happened? No.
To be honest, I'm assuming that they're smart enough to realize that if anybody else higher up would have contacted me from a number that wasn't Vermont, it would have been too easy to know exactly who to go to next. I'm essentially one link away from finding exactly the person who's doing this, because it is very high up. I even got confirmation the other day from a volunteer where essentially all in these transfers, so after a state is finished, the employees and the staff are transferred to another state for obvious reasons, right? So all the best staffers were left behind. I'm talking about the people who put out the best numbers, and all the worst staff was transferred into North Carolina. This wasn't the only time this happened. This has happened in other states as well. And all the best staffers were then transferred up late. I'm talking about maybe 4 days before the primaries. Now, here's a problem with this. This same person informed me that he got pissed, obviously, and called the campaign and was like, hey, why wasn't I transferred up first if I had the best numbers? She's like, I actually don't understand why you weren't. The person who answered said, I don't understand why you weren't transferred up first, because you were the first person on the list to be sent up into North Carolina.
Okay. Now, a lot of clear shenanigans going on here.
Yeah. This isn't, like I said, this isn't only happening in North Carolina. This is happening all over.
Now, we have coming up tomorrow, there's 3 states. You got Washington State, Hawaii, and Alaska, right?
Yes.
Okay, now what have you heard about through the grapevine of what other kind of Clinton campaign dirty tricks are going on over there?
People are worried about Washington, sincerely worried. I've been getting messages all day where people are just like, it's almost out of their control what has been going on. And to be honest, I think we've kind of got the answer. The other day, we were told by from very reliable sources that Ryan Hughes of Michigan is actually taking money from Priorities United while simultaneously taking money from Bernie Sanders' campaign. Whenever he was confronted about this, he left from Michigan almost maybe 2 days later without saying a word to anybody.
What's this guy's name?
In contact with him.
What's his name?
He just kind of vanished.
What's his name?
Ryan Hughes.
Brian Hughes,
the former state director for Michigan. Ryan, like Ryan, and Hughes.
Now, let me ask you a question. Now, when you go on the air and you mention all these people's names and stuff like that, is anyone from the press contacting these people and getting their side of the story? People have actually
tried to contact and get the side of the story out of the interest of fairness, because like I said, we don't want anybody to think that we have a personal vendetta against anybody or anyone. We're trying to find the truth, and the people deserve to know the truth, because this is public information. If you're getting paid by 2 people with opposing interests, I think, and especially during an election where people are putting their hard-earned money, their manpower, and their donations to Bernie's campaign is paying these people, they deserve to know where their money is going and what's being done with their money. And so we put only pertinent information out, and the press will try to contact these people. People have tried to contact Aisha. I'm sure that people have tried to contact Ryan Hughes at this point, but a lot of times we get no comment or no answer. Of course, what can they say?
So Aisha should do it. Has she given a public statement about any of this?
No, she actually did the opposite. She deleted her Twitter.
Get out of here. Now, what do you know about, we mentioned before a second ago, we were saying that a lot of people up in Washington State are nervous. Now, with this, wait, I'm sorry, back to Brian Hughes. Now, you're saying that you have information that he's being paid not just by the Clinton, the Sanders campaign, but also by a Hillary PAC. I might have just lost our friend here. Yeah, we did. Okay, I'm going to call him right back up real fast. He calls me up too, so we should be getting him right back up in a couple of seconds here. So that's kind of breaking information here from Niko House. He's a young college student, 27 years old, and he's just kind of information kind of fell into his lap, and he's really taking it and running with it. And I think he's doing a very good job. Oh, here we go. We're back.
Hey, Ed, sorry about that.
No sweat. Now, Brian Hughes, the story is that he's paid by the Sanders campaign, but now you discovered some information, too, that he's being paid also by a Hillary PAC, correct?
Yes, Priorities USA.
Priorities USA. Now, how do you know that?
We have a very, very reliable source from inside. We can't really divulge that information because, for one, it would, kind of put her in a really peculiar position, and we don't want to have anybody's job sacrificed until the suit begins, because then she will be given obviously sovereignty and would be probably exempt from any type of retaliation from that PAC. But we have pretty reliable sources they've seen the numbers.
Gotcha. So you have a confidential informant who's feeding you this information from inside Priorities USA.
Yes.
The Hillary Clinton PAC.
Yes.
Super PAC, they're called these days.
Yes, and they're the only ones who donate to Hillary. they are, excuse me, not the only one that donate to Hillary, but they've only donated to Hillary this election cycle. We checked to verify. So
now,
there's no one else that can stand to benefit from them paying Ryan Hughes.
So now when you have this information that they're paying Ryan Hughes, how do you have that? You have a photocopy or you just have verbal information?
We are trying to get, we wanted to, like I said, obviously we would like to get like backdoor access to all this information. And she has the information, but in the interest of Ryan Hughes' personal information being on there, like social security number, bank checking account, address, things like that, it's kind of best to let the lawyers go in and get it. In the interest of doing what's legally right, and we don't want to, like, in the process of exposing these people, we don't want to hurt Bernie's campaign at the same time.
I got you. Now, also, too, we were discussing off the air about, it was just announced, I think it was yesterday, that Bernie has decided to sue the DNC about that whole business about this, the database software that he was denied access to, that obviously was a glitch on the side of the software manufacturer, the vendor. But now you're thinking that this has something to do with the information you're releasing.
Yes. So we have been made aware that Jane Sanders has kind of received our message through email. And so if that's the case, Bernie is, like I said, as we've seen in the past, if Bernie thinks he can sue you, he will likely sue you, and he will probably win because of just what we've seen. I don't know if he has the details on exactly what's going on because it was like a very short correspondence. However, we know that he knows enough, or else he wouldn't have, because you don't go from, the issue had been voter fraud this entire time, but he went from voter fraud to, okay, let's figure out what's going on with my data. And so obviously he has some inclination as to what's going on, and he's suing for what he thinks he can sue for right now. What's kind of scary is to think that if these operatives have been planted by either the DNC or the Hillary Clinton camp, they have had access to all of his data, and they have made it very apparent that they refuse to take canvassing seriously as it should be for a grassroots campaign. They have people focusing on phone banking, and there's a very rational reason for this. Phone banking gives you information, especially thousands and thousands of people phone banking at once. You find out vital information about precincts. You find out vital information about people's party affiliation, the party affiliation of people in specific households, and the state directors have all had access to this. And so it's very easy to conceive or to think that somebody would target specific people, considering that we know that the DNC can change voter affiliation. They know they have access to that type of stuff. They could turn off Bernie's data whenever they want to. So that kind of lets you know how much power they have. And with all that data, it's very easy to figure out, okay, this person said they support Bernie. Let's change it. This person said people in this precinct seem to be overwhelmingly in support of Bernie, so let's just do a blanket. Let's change all the registrations just in case.
Right, and we just had an incident in the past few days where in Washington State, the Clinton campaign, one of their PACs, has sent out a mailer to all women in this segment of Washington State that are obviously Bernie supporters, and they're giving them incorrect caucus location information. Yep. They're giving them the wrong time.
That's not only in Washington either. That's apparently been in New York. It's been in everywhere. They've been giving wrong precinct information in the next few upcoming states. Washington, I heard the most wrong information has been given out in Washington, though, for obvious reasons. It's been called out, and I'm not even sure I'm not sure if Hillary can, if that's legal for her to just give out blatantly wrong information. But it's not on accident. She's telling them to only be there maybe 30 minutes early or something to that extent, and it's apparently giving inaccurate times to when it may end, and it's just a lot going on. And like I said, we can keep ignoring it, or we can finally just kind of pull up our pants and say, you know what, this is obvious, and we got to do something about it. The worst, in any other situation, if you're looking to seek an indictment, all you need is proof that there is some negative intention on the behalf of the person being, allegedly being accused of something. And so I don't understand there's not really anything different going on. There's obviously voter fraud. There's obviously, some foul play here. And we have more than enough information and more than enough links to move forward with at least figuring out, or at least for the FEC to do an investigation as to what's going on and start looking at some of these emails and these correspondences and figure out why exactly there's so many people that are directly linked to Hillary working in the states in state at the state level, where there are plenty of people that are qualified. There's no coincidence that out of 40 people,